We only got one player on our last one. Welcome to the Tales of the Weird, where we just had some weird shit happen. Alright, for those of you playing along who have converted to the podcast version from the video, we literally just tested out the theory of grounding, where you take a meter, basically put your shoes on, put it on the earth, the actual earth, raw dirt, and see all the variable voltages bouncing around. Take off your shoes, barefoot, touching the ground. It's called earthing it up, and you are grounded. You are discharged. For those of you who don't know what the hell we're talking about, go over to Toast of the Weird YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see the video. But, alright, I'm here with the Wolf. We're talking about this, losing our fucking minds. It was awesome. The Wolf is now barefoot in the park.
Yep.
Basically doing some Tai Chi right now.
Yes.
Because he feels very centered and balanced.
It was hard not to be. It's really hard not to be. I mean, there's a lot of... We've been hearing stuff about, oh, go touch some grass, be in nature.
Yeah, go touch grass. That's not just an insult. That's a real thing you should do.
Yeah, so then the discharging into the ground, because we're 70-80% water, right?
Yeah.
All this electricity going through us. I saw this stuff about how our heart is actually like a pulse generator or something, wrapped in like coils. And I was like, that's crazy. Well, and again, think about it. What do they do when you...
I was just going to go there.
Go ahead, say it.
I was just going to go there. What do they do when you're, flatlining? They just give you a little jolt of electricity. Bzz.
Yeah. Why does that work?
Bzz. There you go.
Like, to get you to go, like a car engine, right? It's the same thing you do with a car engine when it's dead.
Hold on, Dad's Fred's dead. We need to jump start him.
You give him a jump. Seriously, it's the same thing with your heart.
Dude.
Isn't that fucking funny?
That is absolutely wonderful way to start off with nobody knowing what we're actually talking about. I love how we just hit the ground running on these things. We're building the plane as we fly it. Like my tactical bag right there. And that video was just shot on my cell phone. Dan did it, or the Wolf did it, I did it, we all did it together. It was amazing. And then you started to go off. You need to point that thing at your face. Point the mic at your face. It sounds better.
At your face, son.
Yeah.
Yeah, going off about water and how, those sheets. So there's these grounding sheets, which will be in the description below. Link in the description below.
Watch out, viewers. There are no paid reading ads or whatever.
We do all this because we believe in it. And you should pay us, though. Some grounding sheets would be nice. I'd like to try that shit out. But anyway, so there's these mesh sheets with silver and copper that you plug into the grounding section of your wall. So while you sleep, you're grounded out. So it helps with all kinds of health issues, inflammation, just all this stuff that we apparently have been killing ourselves with. And apparently rubber soles not been around that long. And
nope, no they haven't.
There's pictures of an ancient, I think, Egyptian statue of the person holding a zinc and a copper rod in their hand.
Okay.
What is that?
That's a complete circuit. That's
battery.
Electric.
Yeah.
Electricity inducing.
Yep. Copper. There's the theory that you see all those Sumerians. They have those like wristwatch-looking things, different metals, copper, some crystals inside there. Really healing you, because we talked about the healing properties of crystals before.
Yeah, you and I have talked about that. I don't know if it's actually made it to the podcast.
Yeah, they studies that you can show that putting certain crystals in water will give them beneficial effects when you drink the water. Apparently, also there's this theory after the big reset back in whatever time. You notice how all prominent figures are holding canes with a metal tip. Not a rubber tip. Like we have rubber tips now. All the old canes from the 18th, 17th century, even early 19th, had metal tips on the bottom. And all the prominent figures are holding them. Why is that?
You tell me.
It grounds them out. They're being grounded out to the ground, and no one else was.
Are the stabs made of wood? Because that's a insulator. That's not
well, depending on what was the inside of it, I'm not 100% sure. But it's just another correlation between the health and knowledge and Also, I went on this track, so...
I still weep for the Library of Alexandria. I'm going to throw that out there.
Nice. Yeah, that was the whole theory about how they just moved it and burnt down a bunch of tax records instead. But we'll get on that in another episode. But the whole mud flood reset thing from beforehand, right?
Okay.
At the turn of the 19th century, we only had like 1900, 1901. There was 45 established states, I believe. How many insane asylum, nut houses, loony bins, etc., do you think we had in the United States at that time?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100.
Over 300.
Over 300?
Over 300.
I figured every state would have 2, but it's like every...
6.66 per established state at the time.
6.66? Now that's the
like
mark of the beast.
2-3 times the amount of established hospitals, because there was only, between that time, there was 55,000 doctors, and it blew up to 155, 185. So physicians, so I'm assuming a lot of them were in the mental health sector.
Huh.
But you look at all these old insane asylum buildings. What's interesting to me is, quote unquote, when they built them, why would they build them so big? There's so much room in these places. Even modern hospitals aren't that big. They're huge, like huge. Hold thousands and thousands of people.
Because back then, people were like, or females specifically, were being institutionalized for quote-unquote hysteria.
So there was a term, and I can't remember the way that the way that this term was, because they were like, oh, alcoholics, drug addicts, mentally deficient, educational something or other. The way that that title that they put out, it literally sounded like they're just not going along with the programming. It's literally what it sounded like. They're like non-educational rehabilitation something, and I'm like, what do you mean re-education? I was like, re-education to what? Because some of the theory about
factories, man, you're not going to be a factory worker. We'll throw you in the insane asylum.
Not just that, but if you have a huge reset, like trying to change history, and people aren't going along with that,
so like Big Brother shit.
You shove them in an insane asylum. Like the whole time when all this, like the mud flood and when the reset, all that stuff was supposed to be happening, you have a huge influx of mental instability in America. In places where there's like 1,500 or 5,000 residents, there's a hospital that will hold 1,500 to 1,000 patients. Why the fuck would you need something that big in a town that small? And there's just some interesting stuff you keep looking into it and going into. And on top of that, these buildings look really big and really old for being newly built insane asylums. Like there's the idea that we appropriated all the stuff that we had. There's these old pictures. This guy was just showing it in, I think it was Missouri. I think he was in a museum, and it showed Louisiana Purchase or whatever. Okay. And it showed this different shit. Like it was really interesting the way he was breaking it down. Like it actually talked about, what royalty was there? It looked like there was some royalty from another country already established in the United States that we'd like bought their land, and it wasn't from France. It was like an old empire, some shit. And I was like, wow. Because if you think about it, isn't there a lot of Egyptian names in Memphis, Tennessee and shit?
I don't know.
Cairo, and like there's a bunch of like Egyptian shit there. You know there's an Egyptian temple they found? Pyramid there?
No.
Yeah. I think it was Missouri or one of those southern states, yeah. Nashville, Tennessee. There you go, something like that.
Nashville's in Tennessee.
Yeah, it was just one of those southern kind of Bible Belt states, maybe, I think that's the right term.
That's weird.
Yeah.
There's a homeless tent over there. That's what I was looking at. Oh, no, unhoused person. I have to change my lexicon. I don't want to get canceled on episode 10.
Is it now unhoused? Because it's corn, graped, unalived.
An unhoused person? That's what we're supposed to, how we're supposed
mentally
to talk
deficient, drug-absorbed individual?
There you go. Fentanyl zombie.
Yeah, that's it. I was just talking to someone because one of the guards, they were talking about, oh, crackhead this, crackhead that. And I looked at him, I was like, you know what? We need to get really PC. Crackhead was like 90s, okay? There's no one smoking crack anymore. All right? come on, let's be realistic. We used to call
Crack's
heroin addicts,
basic.
meth heads, crackheads. That's not the right term anymore. They don't do that. We got to be real about it.
I gotta keep this out because we got to do that thing we did last time because that worked out.
Okay, I should time it. We've been doing 10, so I'll do another 20.
I had it in 15-minute increments. We could do it in 20-minute increments. Our last episode was one of the longest ever that we were able to post because of the way that we're operating this. I can't really follow along with you right now because my fluoride stare and my pineal gland is too corroded to be like, yeah, Egyptians in Memphis. What? Next. Move that along. I'm sure that there's a lot of Egyptian names.
Egyptian pyramid found in
Oh, yes!
Nashville.
Yes! You're Googling your own stuff. It's because you're so grounded.
Wasn't Egyptian temple found? Yeah, there we go. Tennessee.
Tanassa?
East Tennessee.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going there in September. I'll take a look at this firsthand, much like we're just like gonna ground with the meter. So that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier today, is like how do you want to take this podcast? Where do you want to take this podcast? Because part of me is like, let's do stupid shit that we see on the internet and see if we could repeat the effects. And the other part of me is like, or we could just make fun of the unhoused fentanyl zombies, or we could do all three. I don't care.
All of it. Again, I don't want to make fun of anyone, but
I know.
I think
like,
we're all
people
about
struggling with addiction is a serious thing.
Yes, people struggling with addiction is a serious thing. However, at some point in time, God damn it, wipe the own drool off your face. That's all I'm saying.
It's time to grow up now. You had your fun. You've done your damage. We're all feeling sad for you because you're gonna die. That's just the way it is.
Is it okay? Is it a trap in society though that once you reach such a low state of self-esteem or self-worth that you just fall into a position of what does it matter? What's the point? You know, is it really a societal thing, honestly? Because I mean, realistically, I don't know too many people that are in a good state of mind that turn to things like that, and or, you know. Because I saw that documentary, was in the early 2000s, where the guy talked about how he was a super high functioning like coke addict. He's like all these huge business owners talk about how all these businesses and all this money and all this stuff, and yet they did all these drugs and shit. So really, what is it that we do not like in these people? Is it that they do drugs? Is it that they fuck up their own life? Is it that they make a burden on other people? What is that we really don't like?
I think it's the burden on other people for me. For me personally, I don't know what it is. You know, but I also see it as kind of a rite of passage of the ruled class, not the ruling class, but the ruled. Those of us who are ruled need to go through some kind of addiction or another and either let it destroy us in our lives or come out the other end and be like, I am so happy to be able to shove these boxes for a major box brand. Yay. You know what I mean?
Is it that we all have our addictions? They're not that bad or destructive, and we keep them under control. That keeps us sane in the worker drone mentality to be able to keep doing this slugging 9 to 5, where we literally just shove all
peasants work less than we do today.
Yeah.
So
peasants work less than we did today.
The whole reason why I think all these vices are starting to become legal and stuff is just that. Is so that way we could become more accepting of our 9 to 5 fate, you know? And less wanting to control our own destiny. See how I tied that in there? I'm going to try to tie that in there every episode.
Excellent. It's true. I mean, I think because you can take any business, any profession, any skill, and if you use your own energy and labor to enhance your business versus someone else's business, like what was the phrase? If you don't get busy working on your own future, someone will get you busy working on theirs, or something like that.
Yeah, it goes along the lines of that joke. Like, a boss pulls into a parking lot in a brand new Lamborghini, and the employee goes, wow, that's an awesome Lamborghini. Did you just buy it? And the boss said, yes, and if you keep working hard, I'll be able to buy another new one next year. That's a comic that I saw. That's one of those web comics. Yeah,
and
man.
if you keep working, I love that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's to me, that's the plight of the workers in our society these days, because we keep working harder, and the cost of living keeps going up, but still we're making good money for 1990, like today in 2024. we're making good money for the standards in 1990. You know? It's fucking sad. It's probably why I went on the whole Keep It Weird podcast, because you gotta do your own shit. You gotta get up off your ass and do your own thing. Or you can enjoy your vices. I'm cool with it either way.
If we have a culture of where consumers help other consumers, and again, as long as you don't get too big to the point to where you're monopolizing, or there's not room in the pond for everyone else, so to speak. You're eating too much of the pie. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, we can take the crippling reality of the music and entertainment industry.
Okay.
I don't know, like, every time I look into anything, there's no artist who's happy with whatever label they're at, and there's all this corruption that goes on. They tell them how exactly they have to adhere to everything, and just...
Follow the rules or you will be canceled.
Not just that, but... they don't make that much money compared to what they used to anymore. They're just paid, entertained employees instead of like artists now. Like they literally, like, all the money and everything that they earn goes to fucking labels and other people that have nothing to do with fucking the singing and the performing and shit. And I was looking at it, and I can't remember I won't say which artist, but they're talking about how much little they made compared. I was just like, holy shit. And all these artists that signed up, and
they get used and abused, or as the old saying goes, rode hard and put away wet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just... But versus if they were to just be able to keep their own independence, you may not blow up as fast or have much behind you, but again, you have all of your own...
That's why Wu-Tang didn't go as far as they could have gone, because they wouldn't let the record labels have the distribution deals, I believe is what it was, is where at the time the record labels were really getting artists on that, because they're like, well, you're going to have to pay $500,000 in distribution fees, and in 1990s money, that's a lot of money, You're looking at $1.7-ish million, something like that.
Just for them to put out your record.
Just for them to get your CDs, I'm dating ourselves, but just to get your CDs printed and shipped, and the shelf space in the stores and all the other stuff that we probably don't even know of, because I'm not in the record industry, but I can imagine what they all have to do. Yeah, for all of that, it cost them $500,000, and Wu-Tang went, all right, bet.
They're like, we're going to do it ourselves, or what?
That's exactly what they did. They were like, we want the distribution deal. And the guy says, okay, $500,000 in the movie, in their little mockumentary. So they do that, and then they have their own destiny because they're not in debt to anybody. They don't have to be a puppet on a string. Plus, Rakim, when he was signing every individual artist for the Wu-Tang, he made it so that way they weren't trapped with Wu-Tang and they could go off and do their own thing. That's why we got Old Dirty Bastard and Method Man to really pop up out of the Wu-Tang clan.
So once they all got some notoriety, they're like, hey, you can go do your own thing if you want once we
Yep.
Instead of owning their
persona and their image and their look and all that stuff, Rakim made it to where they all could do their own thing, but they were a part of Wu-Tang too. He was a mastermind, a business mastermind.
Excellent. See, that's it.
So when I say we're building this podcast like Wu-Tang, we're building this podcast like Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang. A couple of white kids from suburbia.
I don't know. I mean, I grew up in a trailer. I don't know about suburbia. A couple different trailers.
There you go.
Decent house here and there, sure, but again, really nice trailers. I think the nicest house, I want to say home I was in, was a trailer. Damn, they made that house into a home. That was great.
Yeah.
Beautiful plants everywhere and shit.
It's not where you live, it's how you live in it.
Yep.
Honestly. All right. I'm like itching right here, so I'm gonna stop it right here. Wu-Tang, thank you. I'm gonna stop it right here. We'll see you on the break.
Breaking it.
Right? What do you guys do? What's your plan for the episode? We're gonna show up, work out, do a little bit of lifts and pull-ups and all that stuff and bullshit about Wu-Tang and grounding and earthing it up and trying shit out. I think that's what we should do. We should just get the crazy, weird shit on the internet and, like, give it a go.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go do every dumb, like an ice book challenge, but again, that was good. That's a good example of like, let's try this out, or hey, I'm gonna see that, or
don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not about to bust out with the latest TikTok dance just to garnish some attention. It's like, hey, look, 2 old bald guys doing that. No, nobody wants to see my fat ass dancing. If they did, they'd pay me on OnlyFans.
Hey, whatever you and your wife have agreed in your relationship, that's not my business.
No, but I'm talking about, like, that type of stuff. The woo-woo stuff. Like, your perpetual motion machine. I thought that would be cool to build. That would take some effort.
There's a couple. So there was a big one. You're talking about the one with the bottles and the guy?
I'm talking about the one with the bottles and the bicycle wheel.
The guy did one with a piece of copper, a fan head, and a magnet.
Yeah, that one was kind of cool, too.
A small one where you just stuck it underneath there and then the thing just kept spinning.
Yeah. Just do the high-powered magnet thing, throw that up on a video, be like, oh, look at this. Brrr, we legitimately are building it. Blah, there you go.
That's perpetual motion, energy.
But, yeah, we're on.
Good.
Yeah, we're not going to waste our material this time. All the good stuff is off mics. The rest of the stuff is what you people get. Ha! I know you don't like the self-depreciating humor.
So we can get some of that. Absolutely, be really cool. And also, I think the way that we're going to be moving, I think it's natural. I don't think we'd ever put and be like, you need to say these exact lines, and we'll be like, hey, here's some topics you want to bring up, or hey, here's your sheet.
That's why I try to send you stuff throughout the week. I'm like, did you listen to the Cat Williams podcast? It's fucking crazy. Cat Williams,
I didn't know that motherfucker read so much.
Dude, wow. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Stuff. I loved that other side of him. He was a great comic, great entertainer.
Yeah,
and he just sitting there like, he was blowing my mind away with like how red he was. How
exactly.
He talks a little, he was talking a little differently, he was more calm and he was just more like, composed. He was taking his time to like,
you see him on stage and he's got this stage persona of like, I don't know, poop jokes or whatever.
I'll just say a little more quick-witted. Again, he was in the moment to where he had his thinking cap on. Again, he wasn't in the moment, we were on stage to entertain. People aren't there.
Yeah, he didn't have anything prepared either. He was on the podcast for the first time.
Again, what do we know?
Smoking a little bit of weed.
Professional entertainers, what the fuck do we know?
Right.
We are amateur entertainers. Mediocre. We are getting there.
Well, at the beginning of the podcast, too, they're like, well, what's sad is that anybody with a microphone could do this, or they think they could do this, and there's only like 500 real comedians in the world. And I'm like, it's probably true.
So, again, real? You're talking, okay, so...
No, I'm talking like somebody's on stage every night can,
you're talking
going.
World class? Mm-hmm. Sure, and again, with that, absolutely. But this is what I will have to say to that. That's 30 years in the making. That's 30, 25, 10 years in the making. Mm-hmm. You're talking about experience and talking about notoriety as well. The only reason why that is so prominent is because they're famous. That could be the same conversation between an old Italian guy and an old black gentleman anywhere, and no one can give a shit.
Yeah.
Again, they were talking
because
about
it's Joe Rogan and Cat Williams that, Cat Williams sells out arenas, and Joe Rogan is obviously...
So with that...
a famous podcaster.
Aside,
that's not the rabbit hole I wanted to go down, but it is a good rabbit hole to go on.
It is, with that aside, with their entertainment aside, if you literally just kind of like wipe them out and put 2 other like people in their place, I'd still fucking listen to it. It's still entertaining. It's still great,
Yes,
so
and
that's what makes it a good podcast.
Yes, and I've listened to many a Rogan's podcast thinking to myself, what am I doing here? And I'll skip it. I'll literally skip that one. No, I'm not going to oust anybody, but it's aggravating. But
aggravating like you could be doing it? Or aggravating like...
Yes, as in like I could listen to somebody else for another hour or whatever and get the same information.
Well, instead of being aggravating, again, it's all about switching the mindset. So let's use the word encouraging.
And it gives me motivation to be better than I was yesterday. And I love this quote from Peterson, and he says that Rogan is not an intellectual. He's more dangerous because he's a seeker. And I think that we've been more seekers on this show than we have anything else. You know what I mean? We're not we're not coming out here like, well, for the best way to ground, you just take off your rubber-soled shoes, attach your Klein meter to your fingers, and see what you get. That's a scientific method in and of itself.
That's just proof. That's just proving to showing that, a circuit's completed and or grounding yourself out.
So,
I'm still grounded right now, folks, by the way. I have been grounded the whole episode. Very grounded person.
I am not. But anyway, the reason why I brought up the Cat Williams thing is because in that podcast, he says that there's no such thing as bullshit, which is why I want to try some off the wall stuff and throw it up on our YouTube channel, like the meter thing and whatever else, the Coke bottle perpetual motion energy thing. That would be dope to replicate. The TikTok dances would be dope to replicate with a donation of $1 million to our podcast fund. Yeah.
You know what? If we ever reach a certain goal, we will pick whatever random TikTok dance and be like, sure. Thank you. I mean,
we'll
I'm
create
okay
our
with
own
that.
TikTok dance with what you just did.
Okay. I mean, I'll try to
Boogie with it.
try to do that. But I mean, that'd be great. You're like, podcasters trying to make fun of TikTok dance end up making viral TikTok dance.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. But that's kind of what I want to do is go towards that route a little bit, maybe for a couple episodes. We'll try one or two things, see how they work.
Keep it. Well, it's right on the same thing as, again, if we had the whole visual aspect, like if we were right in the stage of Joe Rogan and that, we'd be just pulling that up on the desk, basically like, hey, check this out.
Yeah,
hey, here's my 10,000-year-old samurai sword, or however old his samurai sword is.
This is a real samurai sword. I really don't think he actually got a real samurai sword. I think he got sold the idea of a real samurai sword.
Really? I mean, define a real samurai sword.
really,
Ancient, old, made by someone who was crafted?
They're all family heirlooms. They are legitimately all family heirlooms.
Actually, that's not 100% true. So what happened when Japan surrendered?
They had to give up their guns?
We took a bunch of their stuff, like swords and shit. And a lot of them were cheap shit, but a lot of stuff that came through that our soldiers took home for mementos were the ancient old family swords that some of them had. So some of their shit is floating around that could be 10,000 years old that someone just took home from the war.
Man, I wish my grandfather did that.
And I found that out because someone's grandpa had a fucking sword that they got appraised that they thought was just some shit. And they're like, no, this is some real authentic fucking, real, not just some piece of shit made for the war. And they're like, oh, wow.
Wow. That's... All right. Well, I was proven wrong.
Well, again, too, you never know. But with also on top of that, he has the resources to go take a trip to Antarctica. I think he could afford a couple, few $1,000 for those.
It's like, I just got signed for $250 million. Well, this katana is only $70 million. I mean, I could drop it this year and suffer a little bit.
Think about family heirlooms. Like, it's great until someone doesn't give a shit. And they're like, I could sell this for $4 million.
Yeah. You're hard up and desperate enough. That's the basis for capitalism in our society. I went there.
All those people I got, there was an advertisement for investing in Maui properties. And I just did it to get some more information on it. And these motherfuckers were calling me like, oh, do you want to invest in the Kona property? And I'm like, you bloodthirsty leech sons of bitches, man. God damn.
Kona's not even in Florida.
No, Hawaii. Oh yeah, for all the shit, and I'm just like, damn, bro.
Well, that's why I said
still in the news. You motherfuckers are still being called out for being bloodthirsty leeches, and
well, that's okay. So this is where I'm kind of getting at. I kind of jumped the gun on that.
Painting the house roof.
You get
blue.
You put your information on to invest in this area, and someone calls you from Florida, and they're not even in Hawaii. It's like, okay, I get it. International business. You're trying to get money together to get a fund to buy a bunch of land, but the land in Kona is already dirt cheap because it's on an active volcano.
Well, it's them robbing the land from all the people who had it. And the people literally, it was like hours after their houses were burned down. People were like, hey, do you want to sell your property?
Yeah, like, hey, I got a $20,000 cash offer for you. Okay, here. Turns around, sells it for $150,000.
Yeah.
Capitalism at its finest.
It's called arbitration.
You're desperate? Here's money. All right. Anyway.
It's a lot of companies. We should just make a blue roof painting company right now. Just like invest in that and be like, all we do is just paint your house blue. That's the only color we have is just blue. Different shades you want, cool, but laser housing. We call it laser painting.
Laser painting. We got one color.
Laser defense painting.
That'd be the Raising Cane's business model too. We offer this. That's it.
You know, I don't want to dispatch any. You know, I don't get the draw. Like, it's all right. It's not bad.
It's good.
No, I've much better chicken. I think Chick-fil-A kicks some ass. Raising Cane's is not bad.
I only shop at Chick-fil-A on Sundays. Sorry.
You know, again, I get it. I get their whole stance. A lot of people are, you know, really upset with certain things, and I get it. You know, because honestly, could care fucking less what companies' political issues are. You know, I don't think that they need to be a person. I think that is the most ridiculous thing that shows exactly how corrupt we are. That a corporation can be considered a person.
Yes, but my whole thing with Chick-fil-A and only going there on Sundays is okay, have your personal beliefs, but keep them personal.
Yeah.
You know? Don't make it public.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't make it public. I make a lot of my shit public, but I'm liberal as fuck. And I'm not afraid to say it. But when you're ousting people intentionally, that kind of reminds me of a certain regime that enjoyed certain symbols. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's how you make it. It's a downward spiral. That's how you make an enemy of these people. And then you demonize them and extricate them and not extricate, but ostracize them and make others hate them as well. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Know what I'm saying? Oh, that's just the way I feel. The way I feel about it.
I think it was the chicken or rooster lawyer in Futurama who said it best. He's like, I may not agree with your something or other, agree with your rights or agree with your opinion on this. He's like, but I'll fight to the death for your right to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. I think I've quoted that before, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good basis, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't want Chick-fil-A to die as a company. I'm just not going to spend my dollars there. That's just me. Sorry, Chick-fil-A. You might be one of our sponsors in the future, but according to this podcast right here, you won't be because I'm an ass.
I don't think money should get in the way of our personal beliefs. I think it's a two to nothing vote, kind of like, hey, Chick-fil-A, you wanted to sponsor us, but you didn't win the vote. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, no.
We really like your chicken money, but...
Unless they have a change of heart and they're like, God loves everyone. That love thy neighbor. I mean...
Yeah, just stop right there. Love thy neighbor.
Could I be any more clear on the Bible quote?
That's not my problem, yeah.
It's like that.
Love thy neighbor, unless this, or this.
No,
yeah, exactly, right?
No.
Just love thy neighbor.
Love thy neighbor.
Be right there. Yeah.
It doesn't say that. Oh, dude. Speaking of which, that whole taking God's name in vain thing, did you see that?
No.
I love that. A whole lot of people think that taking God's name in vain is cussing with God in it. So God this, God that. You know what I mean? You following? I don't want to. I really don't want to offend people like that.
I already dropped the GD, so.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So anyway,
dropped the GD.
Got the GD down. And is this for children? No, there's a GD in it. I know my mouth is there. So
I really don't think anyone under the age of 18 should be listening to what we have to say.
No, not at all. Anyway, so apparently taking God's name in vain is not necessarily that by some scholars' standards. I'll just come out and say that. This is my own personal belief. But taking God's name in vain is God would not want you to do that because it's against his beliefs, like being tolerant and loving thy neighbor.
I always thought it as like taking God's name in vain, honestly, is being like, God wills it, like killing someone or something.
That is taking God's name in vain.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I see it too.
Like, what the fuck? Like
conversion by the sword, vanity.
Yeah, conversion. No, man. Like,
yep. Most of the Abrahamic faiths are guilty of that.
What's
in
fucked
one
up
era or another.
is you follow all the stories back and they're just stealing someone else's shit, and or the biggest ones have just taken most of all the little stories and put them together. I was listening to this one gentleman and he was talking about Disney. And he was talking about all the pornographic stuff in Disney.
Okay.
He was going off of a religious tone of it and like, oh, God wouldn't want this and God wouldn't want that. And I'm like, first of all, and he's talking about the Bible and what it says in the Bible. And I'm like, if you actually knew where all that stuff came from, like really what it came from and the game of telephone that transpired, like I don't know. It's a very good. It points you in the right direction. Does it give you every step to take? No, because those directions have been fucked around with thousands of years ago. That's what I feel. I feel like it's got a lot of good points. It's got some good landmarks in it still. But, you still got to find your own way. There's no step-by-step direction anymore. That's how I feel about the Bible.
I have such a controversial opinion, and I don't want to say it on the face, I don't want to say it on record.
Keep it mild sauce. You don't have to go super spicy.
Mild sauce. All right. I think that while this may be true because of people's beliefs, that is there. I think that the original intention has been perversed into a system of control. That's the most politically political thing I can say.
Nothing you said that was incorrect. I think, again, like you said, I honestly do not believe if you were to resurrect Muhammad, Buddha, Jesus, like all of them, sit around in a circle, and they would be being like, "What are you fuckers doing? What? What's going on here?" I'm serious. So, I seriously, he'd be like, "What? No, we don't need that money. Give that money to the homeless guy over there. Don't give it to the."
So tell me about this invention of the mass destruction things you guys got.
Yeah, exactly. You killed how many people in my name? What? Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, "Huh? Do you listen to anything we said? Anything at all?" That part where you're talking about everyone's equal? Do you remember that part? Everyone came from the same cloth, like the seed from the same garden. You don't remember that part? Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
It goes along with the loving part, the peace and loving and stuff. But my problem is that once you start on this path, you get murked, much like Jesus did, because the ruling class doesn't want people to get along, be peaceful, love one another, tolerate each other. They don't want that. They need turmoil. Otherwise, we're all going to be like, so how much is a billion?
Yeah.
How much is an actual billion?
Yeah, why do you need that? Yeah.
And there's like 250 of y'all? I don't know how many billionaires there are. Can you Google that real quick? I just put my phone away so we could mosey on out.
I want to say like at least 500.
How many billionaires are there in the world?
How many billionaires are there in the world? And they all have like hundreds of billion too, some of them. Yeah.
It's not just 1 or 2 billion. It's like you got 50 billion and up.
So as of 2022, 3,194.
So 3,194 people, which is basically a small town in nowhere America.
Between 1 and hundreds of billion. Yeah, that's just disgusting.
It is, dude. It really is with the way our current economic situation is. So if we all keep fighting each other, that helps out 3,000 people. Because then we don't look at them and go, "Hey, what's up with that? Share."
Oh, shit. Speaking on the same lines, I just saw a nice plug, Jake Tran. Check them out, YouTube. Good guy. Did a nice little episode on the security for billionaires.
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It's ridiculous, dude. Even Tate's security.
The amount of money those motherfuckers have. Like, they're just putting in their security every year. I was just like, God damn, $20,000 to $25,000 a month.
Yeah.
And that's on the low end of some folks. One guy, like, there was like the CEO of Google. I think he was like, I believe the numbers. Forget me if I'm wrong. I think he was like $10 million salary. And he was spending $4.5 million in security every year, something like that.
I was laughing at some of these guys that are like that. They have private security. They subscribe to a private security service.
Yeah.
But they're also on the defund the police agenda. And that just makes my head scratch. Like, okay, so you want all these dudes privately to protect you and fuck everyone else? That's why everyone else wants you fucking dead. Sorry, but the truth sticks.
Do you know how the mob got started?
How did the mob get started? For a protection racket?
So, as far as I remember, back in the early,
neither of us are affiliated with the mob, please. Please take this with a grain of salt.
From I remember, but this again, all this stuff is to get everyone to look up shit on their own and partially remember. Anyway,
we're seekers.
Seekers. No, I remember they talked about how in the Italian or rural countryside there were bandits or something going on, and people gathered together to like protect each other, the farms or some shit.
All right.
And there's some sort of name they came up for themselves, and after a little while they realized that they had complete control of everybody, and they started extorting the very people they were starting to protect, and that hence the beginning of the mob.
So that absolute power corrupting absolutely kind of thing.
Exactly.
Happened?
You take the same thing with the police, and after a while it's come to the point to where there's no one checking them, so they need to be just. It's not that I believe in defunding the police. I believe in restructuring, reorganizing, retraining, redeveloping our law enforcement apparatus.
These are all societal level issues, and I will always, until my deathbed, until it actually happens, which will probably be way long after I'm dead, I will always be on our system of governance in the current world seriously needs to be reevaluated and restructured for the modern time.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's all kinds of stuff, like we refer to the Constitution. Oh, the Constitution. I love the Constitution, but there's stuff in there that is not completely addressed because it wasn't a thing back in the day.
The internet. How was Benjamin Franklin supposed to know about the internet when he got electrocuted?
Yeah,
or not electrocuted, but just zapped.
Yeah, privacy and just, all kinds of just different shit. And again, he even quoted in saying, I think he said that every government should be torn down and rebuilt every 200 years.
He actually said that our government needs to be torn down and rebuilt in 200 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're like 23 years late, or 6 years late, or something like that. And that was my whole basis for my thought process of restructuring our government for the current era.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And
but these are all societal issues. And
well, what's fucking scary, what's really scary, and I do not condone this, is a very wonderful phrase out of the movie Lord of War, but it gives you credence to kind of what's going on, is bullets change governments far surer than votes.
Yeah, if votes actually did anything.
Well, what that really means to me is shitty as it is, a very quick, violent upheaval of the system is oftentimes easier to swallow than a slow, rolling change, corruption, see, that's almost impossible. Almost impossible to do it that way.
Yeah.
Because there'd be so many people trying to fucking drag their feet, and there's so much corruption built into our system already, you literally have to wipe it all out from the bottom, from the top down, and just restart it over, which would be a very, very hazardous mess for a long time.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
And the shittiest thing is it almost feels like those in power push that. Because again, too, the idea
that goes back to the loving each other thing I was talking about earlier, too. Go ahead.
You offer the solution to the problem you created. Hey, there's all this war and chaos and turmoil. Guess what? Just follow all these rules and it'll be safe, and I'll take away all your rights. And
well, they've been slowly taking away our rights without us even noticing.
I didn't know you could opt out of the whole body cam thing at the airport. You can request a pat-down.
Yeah, I have known that.
I didn't know that.
And the whole reason for that is because they found that those super X-ray machines, like, I don't know, kill your sperm count or something.
Well, I mean,
it causes bodily harm.
Not just that, but the privacy factor, right? You can literally see everyone's like boobs and penis and shape of their balls.
Yeah, there are no secrets in those machines.
That's just too much. Yeah, and again, too, that's shooting us with fucking radiation and shit all the time. Oh, so I saw this crap about how lead paint. So this is what's interesting is they talk about, so why is lead paint bad? Why is it bad to have a house with lead?
All right, lead paint.
So as you were talking about with the body scanners and they're killing your sperm and causing issues, what's the first thing you do when you go get an X-ray, like at a dentist?
They cover you with lead.
With the fucking lead vest. So we were always led to believe, you shouldn't have lead paint because, kids will eat paint chips, which, again, I've never fucking seen a kid eating chips with paint, ever.
Well, that was pre-70s, though. So
but still, I've never
those kids.
Never seen that. But here's the idea that they actually did that on purpose to take away the only protection we have from all this EMF fucking radiation. So in your house, the lead prevents all that from entering your home.
I've seen that, yeah. All right.
And now that we don't have any lead protection, again, like we talked about before with the was it the Spanish flu or influenza coming up with the power grid and shit?
Yeah.
At the same time, 90% of foodborne, 90% of our illnesses came about the same time. 90% of our food that we have nowadays.
Oh, dude, don't get me started on the food
like,
thing. Well, that lead does do damage to a person. It does. It's been proven time and time again.
Well, how though? Ingesting it? Touching it?
It has something to do with mental faculties. It basically slows you down, stunts your mental capabilities.
I'm just starting to re-question everything. Because again, like you brought it before, let's pull something out of the thing. What was that guy from high school we talked about had a whole thing of fucking mercury? Was I talking about Russell about this? Was it you? Russell?
That wasn't me.
Maybe it was Russell, but
could have been Russell.
They talk about how mercury is poisonous.
Yes.
Or we're not supposed to touch or whatever.
Yes.
And yet there was someone you knew back in high school, like a coffee can of the shit, was playing around with it, and yet mercury is this like miracle thing that helps with electricity and all this other stuff. Like if you move it with a magnet, it produces electricity.
Yeah. So, okay, I can see that.
So again, it just makes me question about all the stuff that they said was poisonous. And
to the caveat, though, like maybe it is poisonous. Maybe it is better to not have it than to have it into the environment. You know, it's yeah. You've heard of the monkey experiment, right? Well, I mean, the which monkey experiment?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
one where they
the darts and the investing one. Yeah.
The darts and the investing.
You haven't seen that one? You haven't seen that?
Ah, that's a better investment plan than what I got going on right now.
Okay, so Stephen Graham used it because I can't remember which investment. Maybe it was Warren Buffett, but quoted him saying that a monkey throwing darts at a dartboard will do a better job than like whatever investors or something like that.
Yeah.
And he tested the theory. He like put up 100 fucking companies on a dartboard, had the monkey throw fucking darts at him, and fucking has a thing called the monkey portfolio, and it's performing better than the average fucking whatever person.
That's awesome.
Because it's just random probability. Yeah.
That's not what I was talking about.
Okay. Anyway.
They put the scientists, the observers, they put bushels of banana extended from a roof, put a ladder up to the bushel of bananas, and anytime monkeys went up there to grab a bushel of bananas, they'd hit them with a fire hose and just smack them right off before they could even get the bananas. They just hosed them down. And every single monkey tried it, and they all got hosed down. After a while, they stopped trying it, so they'd introduce a new monkey. And what does the new monkey do? Ooh, banana. Goes up the ladder, and tries to get blasted down, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what you think is going to happen? No. The group of monkeys pull the monkey off of the ladder. And some of those monkeys actually got a beat down because of what they were doing. They got, beat up and told not to go up to the ladder until they wouldn't go up the ladder anymore, and they'd introduce a new monkey. And then it would repeat. That same monkey that got the beat down would help beat down the next monkey to keep them off the ladder, keep them trying to go for that bushel of bananas. So, is mercury the proverbial banana, and we're just a bunch of monkeys?
There you go. So there's again, I'm all for stuff, like we can really prove it, but as we just talked about right now with this monkey experiment, the first stuff that comes to my mind, I'm like, who did the experiment? Where can we cite this? Can we look the information ourselves? Because a lot of stuff I'll use, I love when people are talking about, percentage, this percentage, this percentage of that, this, where the fuck's that information come from? Oh, they did a study. Who did a study? Where's the study at? Can you fucking cite it? Can you tell me who did it?
Yeah.
There's so much shit people just throw out randomly, even, no one cites their sources for anything.
No.
They're just like, there was a study done. I'm like, prove it.
Mm-hmm. And that goes on to the whole vaxxer, anti-vaxxer kind of thing, too.
Well, there's always you see these random studies of the most obscure shit, and I'm like, who the fuck would pay some scientist to fucking figure that out? Like, who the fuck's got billions of dollars? It's like, let me figure out what guinea pigs are, afraid of. No one cares. Like, what the fuck's that have to do with anything?
It was a sociology experiment, the one that I cited. There you go.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's some real stuff, and I can understand that. It just made me think, because I see some really weird science facts, I'm like, they're like, studies show, and I'm like, what study?
Who's studied?
Yeah,
What study?
like what? Yeah,
yeah, and
quote
you
it.
can,
Tell me where it is.
You can geek out and go look up these studies.
Yeah,
again,
I'm cool with that.
Basis of the podcast, go do your own research, kind of thing. But I don't want to be on the QAnon level of go do your own research. You know.
Let's not get into the conspiracy of owning conspiracies and pushing conspiracies and or anti-conspiracy or misinformation.
Dude, that's exactly why I sent that Cat Williams podcast to you. I keep circling back to it, but it was like
there was a lot. They talked about a lot. So
yeah, and one of the key facets that I took away is him saying nothing is bullshit. Nothing is complete bullshit. So there's some sliver of truth into most things. Which is kind of scary if you really think about all that stuff.
The far-reaching ideas are often the most realistic afterwards. Mm-hmm.
So I have the pleasure of working outside more than I do inside for the most part. And every time that I see chemtrails, I know that next week it's going to rain. Right? I've even started saying this to my coworker. My coworker's making fun of me for this, but I put that in his mind, and I put it in everybody's mind. You watch those chemtrails, quote unquote. I don't know what else to call them, but everybody knows them as chemtrails. And yet, lo and behold, within the week, it will rain again. Now, that is not to say if you live in an area with heavy rain or whatever. We live more in a drier climate that doesn't have a whole lot of rain in it, but that's just what I'm observing every single week since last October.
Cloud seeding is a huge thing now. Mm-hmm. I can't remember where, and I apologize for whoever may have offended. Somewhere maybe in the Arab Emirates, Dubai, I don't know, somewhere they were showing this rich country had a huge center that basically was $10 million a day or year, some shit, astronomical amount of money that they spent that they were using to control their weather. And the guy was like, yeah, watch me seed this cloud and put whatever chemicals up in the atmosphere. And I'm like, that sounds great, but should we really be throwing all that crap up in the air to fucking produce rain in an unnatural way? You know, I think that's going to have some sort of effect somewhere. But global warming is not an issue for us. It is for you guys, though. Don't worry about us literally fucking with the weather, but let's worry about how many fucking burgers you eat because those cows are farting. That's what gets me. I'm just like, I'm the whole Jets and all this other shit. They're literally talking about how they literally are fucking with the weather and they want us to be worried about the weather.
That's what I was going back to. Like, you gotta watch the narrative. Oh my God. Chemtrails are popular. Well, you're all woo-woo and crazy. It's cow farts. That's the real issue. But me observing every day, I look up at the blue sky because I'm not a nocturnal creature. Some of you nocturnal creatures, no offense.
Night owl.
You look up, and on a day like today, it's pretty clear, and they say that all jets make those things, and you're like, well, there goes a jet, and it doesn't have those.
There's some they show the difference
chemtrails.
between whatever exhaust and some shit versus an actual chemtrail because
and then there's also the
quicker.
cone of ice that comes off of the wings, but it doesn't go but for a few meters after the wing.
No, they're absolutely throwing crap up in the air, and regardless if it's poison or if they're trying to induce weather or whatever, they're fucking with the atmosphere.
I forgot what the chemical was, but there's a lot of
some nasty
silver
shit.
being thrown
silver
up.
iodine or
Silver
nitrate
oxide
or some shit.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, isn't that a poison? Oh, micro, floating out in the atmosphere. It's fine.
Yeah. And then again, I'm gonna come back to that because it's stuck. I listened to it within this past week, and it's stuck. Cat Williams is like, they wanted gold. Some alien race wanted us to mine gold so that way they could put it into their atmosphere to prevent global warming. And I'm just like, what did he just say?
He talked about Zachariah Stitchin's translation of the tablets that talked about why the Anunnaki came is to harvest gold to use it in their atmosphere. But also what Cat Williams said, he's like, but the most important thing to them was gold and pussy. And then Joe Rogan's like, what? Gold and women? He's like, yeah, gold and pussy. They're here to steal the gold and take our women. Like, that's what they were here for. Yeah.
Are we continuing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Yeah, and I wanted to look into the Anunnaki and the Sumerians and all that stuff after a while, which was probably a thought trail that I wanted to go down with the ancient religions versus the newer religions too. Like, there's got to be some truth in the old religions versus what's going on, and they don't want people knowing about it. They want people to still continue to get their single source of information.
Control. I think isn't the Catholic Church was one of the largest and billion popular. I mean, and just the amount of hidden knowledge. I watched this thing about how, and again, not believing, just not condemning, condoning, but just like listening into facts about how apparently Jesus wasn't even real, but there was some letter between whatever Roman emperor and Peter talking about how it was. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of interesting sense, or some stuff,
Yeah, we make a martyr out of somebody who's not real, but we say that he's real, and we tell everybody we just sell it hard. Just sell it hard, and everybody will believe it. And not only are they going to believe it, they're going to give us 10%.
The whole... the whole idea of that is just absolutely corrupt. There was the thing that we're going down. The guy was... Oh, you remember it was 1991? The Vatican's banker was found dead under the London Bridge.
No.
Yeah, he was floating, and I remember the scene. Get a little graphic here, folks. Sorry, but he was just this floating body and had a rope wrapped around him, so like tied to a pole, so like the body wouldn't float away. It looked like, or some shit like.
Somebody was making a message, a real clear message.
Absolutely, yeah. And he was the Vatican's banker, and like I was like, damn. Just some very corrupt shit. But they
see, if our show ever gets popular and we just disappear, like, there you go. It's because we were talking about this stuff in the early days,
right? Just enough breadcrumbs, folks. Didn't do any original journalism, like my boy Jake Train says. They don't come after me because I didn't do any of the original journalism on that. It's all other people.
It's all hearsay.
Yeah, exactly. And you leave open-ended questions. You don't dig too deep, just enough to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But not enough to break open the scab,
It really opened my eyes when Cat Williams was like, I'm going to get canceled for the 70th time on this show. And then he'd say some really, like, cringy shit. And you're just like, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So, where else did you want to roll with this? I feel like that's a good stop because we got about an hour here.
Okay, that's good. Sounds good.
You got a guest. I got to do. Huh?
We're going to go into the healing stuff next week too.
Healing stuff next week? Oh, the
grounding
electricity.
sheets, yeah.
Alrighty. What's up? All right. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like or follow or share on your favorite podcasting apparatus. Don't go anywhere with that mic, man. We're out.